Okay, we're getting back on the 65 motor here. So I gotta get it finished up. Crank was already all rebuilt, balanced, treated, ready to go. And the cases, it was bolted in the cases here, but it was never finished up. So I need to get it finished. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the cam cover bushings, or next thing on the list to get done, because you can't put the motor together until you get all the shafts done to come through here, because you can't do it once the motor is assembled. So you have to fit the pinion shaft, bushing, all that through here by line reaming it through the two holes here with the cam. Yeah, that cam hole right there and the pinion hole. So we had to get the his cam cover here. He got buffed up a little bit, not too much. We're going to put a new crane cam in here. Fireball 300H hydraulic. So we'll stick that in there. That'll make it run a lot better. Got a pretty decent sized lobe to it there. So now I get the bushings here. Now this cover here is missing the breather tube, which is this one right here. So you got to steal these out of junk covers, or you have to make them. So I don't have any junk covers laying around, so I'm gonna have to make one. So we'll show how to do that. Next thing is we got to figure out these bushings are bad enough to replace. So you put them up here in the pinion shaft. And you look at how much clearances you got. You rock it like this, and you rock it like this. Okay, you both angles of planes adjustment there. See, it's top to bottom. This is in and out. So it's close. You could run this. It's a little loose, but it's runnable. A lot of brand new bushings are that loose. But this is going to be a stock bike. He wants no problem with this, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up, because the tighter this bushing is, the better the oil pressure will be. Next thing is you got your new cam in here. You want to check the cam bushing, see how bad it is. So it has a lot of rock in it. And so that means that the bushing is tapered or bell-mouthed. Now next thing you want to do is find out if the bushing, the actual diameter of the bushing is bad. Is what you do is you push the cam straight down, then you slide it back and forth. You can hear the clearance in it. So I'm not rocking the cam like this, I'm sliding it like this. So that's actually clearance in the bushing. So you do it side to side and top to bottom. See, it's a little bit looser top to bottom. It's loosest in this plane right here. Okay, so whenever you get clearance like that, you know it's loose. If it just rocks back and forth, but it feels tight the other way, it's usable. But this one's loose, both planes. So we'll go ahead and replace that bushing too. And we'll go ahead and replace this when we're at it. So the next thing is you got to find some bushings to use. So here's a box of bushings. So here's a Jim's bushing. They usually give you quite a bit to work with. They're very expensive, but they work halfway decent. Now the first problem is on this bushing is it's made wrong. Yeah, there we go. But it does have the hole over here where it belongs. There's a hole way down inside there. So the way these ones work here is the oil comes in through the hole right there, and it stops. It has to go until when the shaft turns, the oil hole will uncover. So there's your hole right there. So it only has one spot where it uncovers the hole, so it only gets oil once every turn. When you have a low output oil pump, like a stock Harley pump over here is, not a lot of volume, that's what you want. If you make it end oiling, where it goes through the end of the crank over here, which you can do very easily with bushing by just putting the oil hole right where the slot is, and then it'll be good oil at the end of the bushing, so the oil right through here, and it's shooting in the crank. The problem is when the crank is rotating, it's like a centrifuge. The oil slings out and it sucks the oil down the shaft, so it puts a hell of a draw in here. It'll actually suck everything this pump will put out. and it'll have no oil going up to your top end, because normally a top end oil feed comes up through here on a regular motor. On a 65's external oiler, or 63, it comes up through here, and there's a tube that goes up, and the crank will suck all the oil out of the motor, go right over in here, and none of it goes up. There's no pressure, it just sucks it all out. So that's a problem we've come across over the years. So now you want to keep these with just light oil surface, or you have to go in here. You can see it's got a plug in the crank here. You have to take that and drill a hole in it, and you got to be a really small hole, like around a 40-50 thou hole. That way it can only suck so much oil, and then you usually get oil pressure, but you usually still have to have a high volume pump or something, because even at that it sucks so much oil it kills it. So it's one of those problems we have. Alright, so we got the that style bushing, a whole bunch of different bushings here in the bag. I'm always trying to find manufacturers that give me bushings that I have material to work with. They don't like giving me material to work with. Okay, there's a pinion bushing early. It's for 53 and earlier, which we're not using. Here's some cam bushings. These are 5 over, it looks like. Helps when you mark some of the stuff. There's some bushings over here. These are cam bushings. A bunch of Eastern stuff in here. Gems and Eastern mix. This looks like it's all idler shaft stuff. Let's see, there's one there to work with. Here's your Eastern kit everybody likes to sell. This stuff sucks easily because they don't give you any material to work with. They're really loose. Every now and then they make stuff made correctly, but most of the time it's not. So it's a hit and miss on what you get. So I don't remember what I got here, so we'll have to figure it out. Okay, here's another bushing. This looks like an early one. Yep, 53. Dixie bushings are all over eBay right now, cheap. This is for the idler. They're a lot cheaper than gem stuff. There's another piece of crap gem or Eastern kit. Okay, so all of these. Oh, there's another good one maybe. There's another one there. All right. So here's all your selection of bushings to work with. Now we have to determine what we're going to use. Alright, so this is a two-handed job, so I'm going to put the camera over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what the hell we got here in the way of bushings. So, first problem is we got to figure out what we got. Oh, camera's way over there. Okay. I always like to start with the pinions. Okay, there's that one. This is early. Eastern, sham. Good one. And unknown crap. Okay, let's go to Eastern. Missing parts. That means I've been robbed already. We'll rob it some more. Interrupted already. Okay, there's a brand new bush. Let's see how loose it is. That already fits. Here, we'll be back. Alright, we're back. He'll be calling back in a few minutes. What was I doing? Bushing. So this is your brand new Eastern bushing. It goes right on the crank already. So you got nothing to work with. It's pre-fitted. So that doesn't give you anything to work with. So there's no way of aligning this correctly to the crank, because it's when you push in a hole, whatever it is, it is. If it's off, it's off. You go in there and put a reamer through it, and if the reamer goes through at an angle like that, you get an oval shaped hole on this side. At some point it would be round, but it's going to be oval on two ends, so you'll have basically a groove like that for oil to dump out, and you lose all your oil pressure. So that doesn't work too good. That's why I don't like stuff that fits on like that right off the bat. Now these ones here, okay, this is gems. Let's see if it's any better. They've been getting less and less to work with lately, so that means they suck. Of course, these things cost, 3 times the cost of an Eastern. Okay, so there's our gems. Okay, now gems doesn't fit on. It's trying to, but it's not going. Yeah, it's trying to go right there. So it's basically it's a 0. So that gives it's 1 thou tighter than a junk one. Not exactly a lot to work with, but it's better than nothing. Okay, now we got this one over here, which is an old Chrome Specialties Motor Factory part back in the early 2000s, late 90s shit. Okay, so we'll see what this one does. This one's really loose. This one's the loosest one yet. So this is almost as loose as the one we want to take out. Almost. That's why it hasn't been used. It's loose. Now you go over here and write on what you got. 0.001 clearance. There, so now I know how loose it is. I'm being generous on the 1. Probably 1.5. Okay, so we know that one's not very good. Okay, this one here, we got, this probably definitely is 1. So we'll write down the package so I don't have to keep doing this every time I want to do stuff. 0.001 clearance. I'll make this 1.5 over here. There we go. That'd be nice. It used to be in the old days they left you 2 or 3 thou to work with, which was pretty nice. 5 would be better, but I could live with those numbers. At least you had something to work with. Nowadays, they don't give you nothing. Okay, now, what do we got in other brands? These are all can bushings. This is all circuit breaker and idler. And this is all idler stuff again. Circuit breaker, idler shaft. That's that one. Okay, so that's the only options are those. Now, if you think that was a fluke and we want to double check, we can take a kit that we haven't robbed already. And pull out another one and check it. Maybe we're lucked out. Maybe they screwed up and made it right. Now this is American made too, so you know it's the best quality in the world. Don't believe that. Okay, there's another bushing. Let's see what this one does. Oh, it goes right on. This is even looser yet. This is at least as loose as this one. So this is about where we started with again. So if you want all the work to replace this bushing, paid all that money, when you're all done, you got almost the same thing. So just because it's new doesn't mean it's any good. It's hard to explain to customers too. Also, why do you got to pay 15 or 20 bucks for a bushing versus 40 bucks for a bushing, or going up to 40, 50 bucks these days for gym stuff. Not that they're overpriced or anything, but they are what they are. Alright, so that pretty well proves what we're going to do. We're going to use gems. Because at least we have no clearance. It's negative. It's not negative by much, but it's at least negative. So that's an improvement over what we got. Okay, so that's this stuff. Next thing is a cam. We got to figure out what we're going to do for a cam bushing. Now this one here, these are old gems that are 5 over OD, so I probably won't need those. This is our buddy, Eastern. We know these are going to be quality. This looks fairly old, but I've been into it before, so it's probably big. Big is not good. Okay, now this is the inner one because it has the notch cut out in it. And this case has a can. This is not what I'm going to use because this has a needle bearing in the case. There we can see. So you can see there's a needle bearing in the case right here. So this here is the earlier one, which the cam bushing goes in there. You notice how that groove right there matches the one in the case for letting oil in. So the needle bearing came out in 58. This is 65, and I should have known this wasn't going to fit on that, but you know, whatever. Now we can still check it for fit though while we're at it. What the hell, we're here. Like I said, when in doubt, just check stuff, right? Okay, so here's a cam shaft. So this is the outer, this is the inner. So this is our inner bushing. Oh, look at that nice tight fit. See how much rock it's got. See the rock in there already? Completely worn out. So this is called loose. So if you went to replace this because your was worn out, you would be really mad because it might be just worse than when you started with. I have had that happen. So we write loose. You could write junk on it too, but some people don't like it when you write junk on their parts. There's the other bag. Okay, so this one here looks like the outer one. It says cam gear bushing. That's not quite right. It's not what I would call it, but okay. They can call it what they want. Okay, so see, there's no notch in it. There's also no oil hole in it. You have to put the oil hole in it. So you'll need, the oil comes in through the top here, just drips in. So if you look inside, there's a hole in there. So you have to drill that in. If you drill it beforehand and line it up, it doesn't hurt anything. If you try to drill it through here, usually what it does, it walks and it tears up the hole in the aluminum because aluminum is softer than brass. So it kind of screws it up a little bit. Okay, so now how bad is this one going to be? Ooh, look at that. Boy, they screwed that one up. That's a nice one there. I like that. That's a good tight fit. There, that's perfect. So we have a winner. That obviously was a mistake. They made it correctly because you can see how the other one's not made right. Okay, so we're going to use an Eastern cam cover bush and a Gems pinion bush. So that way we're going to have a good set. Now this we're going to use the hole through the side, so it's a side oiler. We are not going to use the end oiler where the oil went down and comes into here. So we're eliminating that. Now the other problem is if you convert this to an end oiler bushing, you have to plug up this hole in the back here. Otherwise it'll dump all the oil pressure out that hole. The reason they put the hole in there is because if there's any oil behind the bushing, to keep it from hydraulicing out, from that massive amounts of oil pressure they have, they just dump it out here, the excess it blows by. It gets by the end of the shaft over here. Now we know in the real world that will never happen, but Harley made sure that if it ever did happen by accident, it was taken care of. So they were thinking ahead. Now if they just had oil pressure, it'd be nice. Okay, so that's what it takes to figure out what the hell you're going to do around here. No problem. So now you got all these extra bushings you don't care about. All this junk's in the way, and we're going to use these two right over here. Okay, now the idlers, circuit breakers, and idler gears, they go on these shafts here. We have to figure out where those are at. They just happen to be over here in the box over here. So there's the circuit breaker drive. the idler. And there's the breather valve. Now you might as well make sure this fits the cage before you put the motor together. It's always easier to fix the stuff now than later, so it rotates nice and freely. So this is good to go. We don't have to worry about that part. It fit. Okay, this is your idler gear. You call it an idler gear because it's for the generator. It drives the generator. It's the idler because it's between the generator gear that goes here and the circuit breaker here, gear that goes over here. It's the circuit breaker gear because the circuit breaker comes through here and it drives off this worm. It goes like that. That's how they work. Okay, so what we want to do is, see if we can kind of see what's going on. We want to find out how bad the bushing is. Okay, this one's got a little bit of a looseness to it. But it's not enough to worry about. I don't feel any side to side this way. Just a little bit in there. All this does is drive a generator gear, so it's not really that critical if it's a little loose. So don't have a problem with that. It's not so bad you have to replace it. Now this one does something important. It controls your ignition timing, so it is important if it's loose. It's about the same looseness as everything else around here. So if you pull it up, the bushings are short ones inside here. So if you pull the gear half off to where you're just in one bush, you can get a pretty good idea how loose one bushing is. It's like this. You can see how loose it is. So this one's 50-50. It's a little bit loose, but it's not really all that bad. I think we can probably live with it. Doesn't have to be perfect. The distributor basically fluxes all over the place, so it's not real super critical. The biggest thing is it's not really loose and it's not binding up, so that's the key thing. So these could be replaced. You're right, you're 50% worn out now. So to save them a few bucks, we'll just leave them. No reason to change them. Now these things here, if you buy the Jim's ones, I think they're up to like 20 bucks a piece now for these stupid bushings. S&S is probably more like 12 to 15 a piece. Eastern are probably no good, but they're in there. They're probably 10 bucks a piece. These Dixie ones you can buy on eBay for $1 a piece to $2 a piece plus shipping, so whatever. Gyms, they get the most money for theirs. They're very expensive, but whatever. Same thing. These are probably pretty loose. These should be tight where you get them home to fit. No matter how good of a job you want, depends what parts you got. So there you go. Now you're a bushing expert. Excuse me. Okay, now we gotta get these things out of here. And then we have to put them back in and pin them. And then we gotta go make our tube here, our breather tube. So that'll be the last thing I'll do. Okay, so for now, let's go ahead and do this. Now the only reason I got a rag on my bench here, where's that camera way over there? Because I don't want to scratch up the new aluminum. Otherwise I don't care. This here, go like that all day long, it's not going to hurt it. It's on a steel bench, doesn't hurt anything. There's lots of noise here. So I think I'm really dropping stuff. It's just rolling. It just sounds like you're beating it up. So leave all the comments you want. It don't make no difference. Okay, so now we got to go ahead and do this. Out of the way. So I got some Jim's pullers I use. They're in my drawer down here. Okay, so we need a pinion bushing puller. Maybe this thing. And then we need a cam gear pulling for over here. Okay, big twin pinion, use cam pull. That one, electric bearing, 4-speed, pre-cam bushing. Okay, 69, pre-69 cam bushing. That's this one. Now, that's not what this is sold for, that's just what I use it for. This is actually for pulling the starter bearing out of the electric star primary cover. We don't care what they're supposed to do. We only care for what we can make them work with. Okay, so this one here, it's been modified a couple times. It's been turned way down so it fits inside of the blind hole in the cover on the back side in here, because it was not made for generator applications. It was made for a cone motor. So we have very little clearance in the back side of that bushing hole in there. So you have to trim this down to make it fit. If you trim too much, they break off. Then they look like this one where they're no good. This shears them all off. Then you could get to spend another $200 to get another one of these. No problem. Next thing is I took the bushing, other piece here, whatever you can call it. I had to machine it deeper, and I had to notch it to make room to clear other applications, because this gets used on Sportsters too, even though you're not supposed to. Now the way these works is, this here is a split collar, so it collapses when you squeeze on it. Then you put the pin through it, and that keeps it from collapsing while you're trying to pull the bushing out. And you tighten up against this bushing here, or sleeve, whatever you want to call it, and that will allow you to pull this thing up by just tightening this up. And if I put a thrust bearing here instead of a washer, it works a lot better, but I haven't done it on this one yet. Okay, so this basically just kind of push it in at an angle. Go in. There, it's all the way in. So you got that much back clearance is all you got. So I pull it up a little bit, push this in. This one's, here it goes. Push it all the way in, and then you can tighten that up. So use our zip gun to do that. Now you want to make sure the sleeve is pushing against the cover here and not off to one side, because then it cocks sideways on you. Then it gets a little worse. Let me get my tools here. My tool bucket. Here's the right one. Okay, use a zip gun right here. And pull this thing. Bring this out. Alright, back to the phone. Be back. Alright, we're back. Lots of interruptions. Okay, I got the bushing out. I can unscrew the nut. You see how it comes out. So you just take it apart like that. Bushing comes off. You take your pin to get it out. Just take another punch and whack it out. It comes out. Put your tool back together again for next time. There you go. Okay, a little pin came out, a little dowel pin. Don't lose that. That pins the bushing, so the bushing can't rotate. That's what that's job is. You see how deeply they drilled that thing down in there. Pretty deep. Alright. Always put the pins in one spot up on the bench so I don't lose them. So this is our old one. Not using that no more. Okay, now we get to go ahead and pull this one out. So this one is the big one. So this comes with this sleeve here, which works great for starter gears, I guess. I'll probably use it for starter bearings. I use it for pulling bushings. So I made up my own sleeve, and now it fits what I want to use it for. Yeah, what am I doing, dumbass? Okay, pull out the tube. Shove this in the hole. Pull it up, push it in, and tighten this up. This one takes a bigger socket, so I'll use a bigger impact. Takes an 1.1" socket. So we use 1/2" drive. Now you don't want to be holding on to this when you hit the zip gun. It slice you wide open, so don't do that. Okay, so I'm going to pull the centerpiece out first. There you go. Take this out. Pull your bushing out. And you can see how the pin is still stuck in here, so you got to pull that out. Usually I just use a pair of dikes to do that. So you just take your dike and you put it in like this. You squeeze and it'll pop off easily. It comes out like that. You just grab a hold of it, and now the pin's out. Oop. So there's the, there it goes. So there's our second pin. Now these are 1/8" by 1/4" inch tall, so you can use dowel pins or cut off drill bits or whatever you need. And this is the bushing, cam bushing now is out. So we have to drill this hole in here in a new bush, because they weren't drilled, remember? So we take our old one, you measure the distance from the shoulders to the hole, center of the hole, and you put a hole in this one, and then they will line up. We do that in drill press. Simple. Okay. Now we got to clean up the oil and stuff out of the hole. We'll put sleeve retainer Loctite on it, and then we'll beat it in the hole or press it in, depending on which one works easier for us. And put your tools when you're done with them, that we don't lose them. And clean them too, so they're not dirty. Very important. Grab your tools, they're not dirty. If they're not dirty, my hands don't get dirty. Parts don't get dirty. They stay clean. Imagine that. Okay, so we got a little bit of a crusty oil residue in there. Wipe off the excess. A little cleaner. So put a little brake clean in there, or solvent, or hot soapy water, or whatever you got. Get them cleaned out, and then get down to bare metal, and your Loctite will hold. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. We'll be back.